I think I've mentioned this before on the channel, but when I was younger, I was a die-hard Call of Duty fan. Call of Duty could do no wrong by me, and I took the game super seriously and would play the game religiously, but over time it's lost its touch. But anyways, in this video I'm going to be talking about why I left Call of Duty for Rainbow Six Siege. Before I start, I want to say that this is my opinion, and that I know the games are completely different and can't be compared side by side, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Now personally, I think the last really good Call of Duty game was Black Ops 2, and after that, it all kind of went downhill. But let me quickly go through the reasons I stopped playing Call of Duty and replaced it with Rainbow. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, and I'll kind of summarize all my points. The first being the setting. And I guess we all kind of put ourselves into this one because we were begging for something new. The whole futuristic thing isn't really what I'm into. Yeah, I love sci-fi and I love games like Deus Ex and whatnot, but the jetpacks and the thrust jumping and wall running really take away from the game to me. I like the modern day games where I didn't really have to worry about whether the enemy was going to be up in the air or on the wall or even underwater. The only thing I really had to worry about in the older ones was a drop shot or someone strafe jumping. Another reason I've lost interest in the games are the supply drops and weapon variants. Don't get me wrong, I love cosmetics and customization in a game. I have no problem spending $1 or $2 on a skin or weapon camo, but I think it gets out of hand when you start adding guns to the supply drops that give you an advantage over the other players. Of course, you can earn keys to unlock supply drops, but that just takes way too long, and odds are you're probably going to get an emblem or some weak variant due to how many different items are in the crates. And the last big reason are that the guns and the streaks are just too boring. Now personally, I love the big streaks that Call of Duty used to have, the chopper gunners, the attack dogs, AC-130s, and my favorite, the tactical nuke that were in the game back in MW2. But each year the streaks got watered down and really weak and basically underwhelming. I can't name a single streak in the most recent games that I really enjoyed using other than like the Swarm. And my final point are that the guns are just too boring. There are too many variants. I played the game recently, I think for the first time in months, just to get this tad bit of gameplay, and there were like 10 new variants and 2 new guns they just gave to me, which is just too much in my opinion. I used to want new guns added into games, and I still do, but making a variant of a gun that is much stronger than its base version is just dumb. Especially since your odds to get one of the guns you actually want is like 1 out of 100 items in the supply drop. Let alone, you can get the same item you've gotten before. And those are just a couple reasons I dislike the past few Call of Duties. Of course, I could go on and on about, what I hate, but anyways, I found another shooter recently to fill the void that I had, and that's Rainbow Six. So Siege is currently my favorite game. It has taken up a good chunk of my time that I should be spending sleeping. And this is the first time I've gotten addicted to it, which is weird because I've bought this game 3 times before this. Once on release date, and then the other 2 times because friends wanted me to try it out, but I just couldn't get into it at all. But now that I have, I can't look back yet, and I'm glad that you guys suggested this to me again. First thing I want to say is that I came into this game completely confused and died a lot, since I'm so used to playing the fast-paced shooters like Battlefield and Call of Duty. I was just kind of rushing around, which now I know isn't okay, since you can't throw your lives away in Rainbow like you can in Call of Duty. Every second you're alive can be valuable to your team even if you're not killing anyone. You can still provide information to your team, provide valuable intel on where the enemies are, so it's beneficial not to just go out and single-handedly snag all the kills for yourself. And that's a big thing I like about Rainbow, that it almost demands teamwork and communication to win, especially if you're playing ranked. As in Call of Duty, you can single-handedly win the game for your team, going around staying away from the objective, just streaking up, and it's a completely viable option. You're not going to be punished for it at all. While in Rainbow, if you want to have 4 roamers running around the map on defense, you're more than likely going to lose a round because the objective is basically going to be wide open. And I also like that team composition actually kind of matters. You know, you're not going to see a team of, you know, roamers like Jaeger, Bandit, Pulse, Frost, and Caveira on a team and expect to win, you know. It actually means something. Another thing I love about Rainbow is that it's just so balanced. Sure, some operators seem better than others, but every single operator has a counter. And some operators may seem like they have better guns than another, but there isn't one omnipotent gun like the ACR or the M16 that sits above the rest and is a go-to option when you need to sweat or get super serious. Your aim also matters in Siege, where a headshot is a one-hit kill no matter what gun you're using. And with headshots being so valuable, your aim actually matters. I can't tell you how many times I've died because I just want to shoot at the legs or chest out of habit. And with the lack of aim assist, you actually have to aim instead of magnetically being pulled to an enemy, which adds another layer of skill to the game. Speaking of skill, that's the next point I want to get into real fast. There is a very steep learning curve in Rainbow, and you can always get better at a game. And as you guys know, I really love a game with a steep learning curve. Where in Call of Duty, there are a few factors that determine how good you're going to be. How fast your twitch reflexes are, how well you know the maps and spawns, your gun skill, and your ability to utilize or abuse whatever movement system the game has in place at the time. And by abuse, I mean things like snaking, but yeah, those are things that make you good at Call of Duty. While in Rainbow, there is so much to know, and there's too much for me to explain without boring you guys too much. But if you've ever played it, you know exactly what I mean. And the last thing I want to talk about is just how fun Rainbow Six is. At first, a one life game didn't sound fun to me at all. And it really wasn't, since I spent most of my beginning hours spectating others. But when you're doing good at the game, it is unlike any other. Everything you do feels rewarding because of how hard everything is to do. Getting a double kill or a triple kill in this feels so much better than in any other game. And surviving around by yourself in a tight room while being rushed by 3 enemies is so tense, and it gets your heart racing no matter how many times you do it. The ranking system is rewarding, and it doesn't feel like you're moving up too fast in the ranks. And by making it to where wins are the only thing that matter in determining your rank, it makes it to where teamwork is even more rewarding than playing like a lone wolf. The community in Rainbow is also very supportive. I know I talk about community a lot, but I feel it's important. But since communication is pretty important when trying to win games, you don't run into a lot of silent lobbies or obnoxious people while randomly queuing up for ranked play. Rainbow as a whole is just more replayable than Call of Duty. Each game feels fresh, and the map destruction really opens up more ways to play a map than just the standard 3-lane maps Call of Duty has. The operators in Rainbow really change the way the game is played each round, unlike the specialist system we've gotten from Call of Duty. I see Rainbow Six continuing to grow as time goes on, and the competitive scene on Rainbow keeps on growing, and just doesn't seem as childish as the Call of Duty competitive scene. And if you've been around on this channel long enough, you know how I feel about competitive play. I feel that it really keeps a game alive. And there are a few more reasons why I prefer Rainbow over Call of Duty, but I don't want this video to be dragged out and boring. Now, of course, some would argue that I'm only saying this because I let the COD hate train get to me, but that isn't true. Because I really wanted to see Call of Duty continue to be the game that you just kind of pick up and play with your friends. It could also be that most of us are just burned out on Call of Duty, because when I started playing the game heavy, it was when MW2 was taking over, and that was back in 2009 when Fred, Roy William Johnson, and Smosh were the face of YouTube. So that's 8 years straight of essentially the same game with a few tweaks. Except for the last 3 years where we got, you know, lasers, jetpacks, boost jumping. Basically the end really started, to me, when Advanced Warfare came out. But now I generally don't enjoy the games anymore. Anyways, I'll stop now. If you liked the video or agreed with me at all, leave a like, since every single like really does help me out. So click on that circle to sub. Check out one of the previous videos on the left. And tell me whether or not you still play Call of Duty or Rainbow, because I'm kind of curious to see where you guys are in terms of first-person shooters, since I know most of you came here for For Honor.